Welcome. Today, a preview of the earnings report for the big four banks in the country: J.P. Morgan Chase & Company, the Bank of America, Citigroup Incorporated, and Wells Fargo & Company. Together, these four banks hold a staggering $8.5 trillion in assets and are the country's largest financial institutions. Now, three of the four banks, J.P. Morgan, Citigroup, and Wells Fargo, will present their earnings webcast on Friday, with the Bank of America holding theirs on Monday. It will be a chance for you to hear directly from the senior management of these bank companies on how they're currently performing and what their future goals are. I think it's simply the best way to get to know a company you may want to invest in. Welcome, it's Wednesday, April 2nd, and this is Value Side. I'm your host, David Ravel. Now, our analysis today should not be considered a recommendation either to buy or sell this or any related security. Well, it's a really big week for the Big Four, with earnings webcasts for all four in the next 8 days. You can bet that management, and especially the financial divisions, have been working on these results for weeks. This will be their big show, reporting their first quarter earnings for 2018. Now, up until last month, Wall Street has viewed these four stocks quite favorably, feeling that the actions of the Federal Reserve have been designed to strengthen their balance sheets. However, the current market downdraft has caught these four, and except for J.P. Morgan, which remains solidly in the black, the other three are now down in price on the year. I think this is due to two outstanding events: the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act passed at the end of 2017, and the Federal Reserve Board's policy of, quote, normalizing interest rates. First, let's look at the effect of tax reform. The initial impact of tax reform has been negative, as these banks had to reduce the benefits of their deferred taxes. Putting it simply, deferring taxes in a 30% plus world is more beneficial than in a 20% plus world. Secondly, these four international banks have had to face taxation on certain offshore assets. As part of the Tax Reform Act, certain portions of their assets held overseas became subject to taxation. This one-time event meant more taxes whether or not they brought those assets home. So when all is said and done, I expect a negative impact on this first quarter report. The good news is that once this quarter has passed, all of these banks will enjoy a sharp reduction in their overall corporate tax rate. In the case of J.P. Morgan, for instance, I expect this will drop their corporate tax rate about 10% going forward, and that's a very big benefit indeed. The second major impact on these banks is the ongoing, quote, normalization of interest rates by the Federal Reserve. That is, the Fed's policy of raising interest rates. And make no mistake, overall this is an extremely positive event for the banks, and this is something that is occurring right now. As the Fed raises interest rates, the banks immediately raise their rates on their loans. What's more, saving rates are currently very sticky. That is, they're not going up as much. So for the banks, their income from loans are rising, while their cost of funds are not rising as much. Voila! A loan spread that is widening, another sign of very good news. But there is a downside to all this good news. Loan delinquencies are also starting to rise, and if delinquencies move into defaults, that will prove to be the flip side of all this bullishness, and this may just prove to be the reason markets have turned cold lately. Now, the FOMC will meet on Tuesday and report their results on Wednesday, whether or not they will raise rates this month. Expectations are that while they won't raise here, they will continue to raise as the year goes by. Overall, I expect that all eyes will be on first the FOMC minutes on Wednesday, followed then by Citi, J.P. Morgan, and Wells Fargo earning reports on Friday, B of A next Monday. And that's an overview of the big four banks. We'll be back tomorrow to preview J.P. Morgan Chase & Company, the nation's largest bank, including how you can join in their earnings webcast. This has been a copyrighted edition of ValueSide, published before the opening of the New York Stock Exchange for Monday, April 9th. Don't forget you can hear ValueSide on Google Music, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and now on YouTube. For all of us at ValueSide, I'm David Revell, hoping you have a great day.